Welcome to another episode of The Wave, the wonderful Alberni Valley Experience. I'm your host, Don Tecson, coming to you from our studio here in the unceded territories of the Tishat and Hupachesed peoples. Today, we are going to be discussing community matters that matter with my very special guest. But before all that, you gotta see this. And welcome back. We are with our very special guest who we are going to be talking about some very important community matters. And I have invited for this episode of The Wave, the Honorable Dustin Dame. Welcome to the show, Dustin. Thank you for coming.
Thanks
Can
so
you
much
greet
for
our
having me.
audience, please?
Sorry?
Can you greet our audience?
Oh, yeah. Hello. Good to meet you.
It's Dustin's first time on camera,
First
so you have to bear with him.
Forgive me.
And Todd is not a stranger to the studio and the camera, so welcome back, Todd, to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, everyone that's tuning in, whether you've made it live or watching the recording. Thank you for your time.
Okay, let's get right to it. We are going to be discussing community matters, an update, a fresh update from the perspective of my very special guests, Dustin and Todd. So I would like to start off the discussion with the OCP. Did I understand it right? What does OCP mean again?
That is the official community plan.
Official community
Yes.
plan. So what are we looking forward to as far as first of all, is it completed yet? Are we there yet?
No, it is not completed yet. It is still in process. It's a long process that involves a lot of community engagement and talking to various groups around town and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to engage and have their input into the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the specific focuses or highlights of the plan that you are working on?
Sure. Well, so right now, I believe the city staff are currently working on the draft policy statements of the plan. So basically putting into words all of the input that they've had so far, putting it into the actual statements that will be in the plan. And so they're testing these out with different groups in town. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment.
Todd, do you have something to add?
The
please?
timeline is for a final draft of the OCP for September, and then council to approve it by November, and then we'll be able to move forward.
How long has this been going on? The process. We started sometime, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, and we put it on pause. Part of the pause was because council made a decision to make sure there was a seniors representative on the committee that was giving input on the foundations for the plan. And then I think probably part of the pause is that we have, not we, but city staff have been involved in a lot of planning activities lately that the provincial government has created. They were new obligations that had some priority, such as the multifamily residential requirements.
Okay.
So we only got so much capacity, and we focused on those things because we were legally required to focus on those things. We've got them out of the way, and the OCP is now back on track, which is important because the OCP is also kind of a stepping stone in achieving the master plans and rewriting the zoning bylaws. So there's things that follow lockstep. So we are eager to get it completed so that we can move on to more community planning.
I see. So after it is completed, then you're saying sometime in September? But that's just the beginning, isn't it?
Well, that's the OCP will be completed.
Yeah.
And the OCP then provides the support for master planning, for bylaw rewrites, zoning changes. Yeah. Partly some of the things that will happen down at SOMAS are dependent on that as well.
Well, that's going to be my next question, but I want to take to the OCP first.
And
So,
just to make sure we've got the dates correct there. It was November that we're shooting to have it all completed.
I see.
September there will be additional community engagement sessions, so that where people will be able to see the drafted document and
I
have
see.
input for city staff to make further.
now you keep on mentioning city staff. What about the public? What is our participation in all this?
That's a great question.
Are we just waiting and seeing and waiting in the wings?
No.
or-
In fact, the document itself should be very driven by the public and by public voices, and so there have been multiple opportunities so far for engagement, both in person and online. And September is when there will be another one. And there's also engagement with various groups in the community to make sure that.
So when you say
perspectives-
engagement with various groups, like what, the shot, the Hupachesit?
Absolutely First Nations engagement. And then different
Businesses, local businesses?
Yeah, for sure. There would be engagement with like the uptown merchants and various nonprofits and representation groups in
Chamber,
towns.
Port Authority.
Yeah, Chamber, Port Authority. So everybody gets involved.
That's right.
Like from my standpoint as an individual who lives in Port Alberni, who was, looking forward to a more wonderful Alberni Valley experience, how could I participate? Should I go to meetings? Should I go online?
Yeah, certainly.
protest?
I mean, there's a few ways to reach out. I'm not sure exactly. So often it's through, I believe it's Let's Connect that often has the, and then if you follow the city on Facebook, there is also opportunities that are posted there. And then if you are able to make it to one of the in-person sessions, those I took my kids to the last one, and it was great. They got to we spent I think an hour and a half going to various stations that address different issues where we were able to
very interesting.
specifically give our input on that particular community issue, and my kids loved it. They got to actually see that they were the only kids who had come in that day in their age bracket. So they were really excited to
How old are your
represent their
kids?
demographic. How old are they?
Yeah.
So I got 4.
Okay.
I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Okay. So they more or less have a mind of their own already.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
So what were their impressions? What were their feedback?
Well, I had to kind of drag them. I had to bribe them. I had to say, well, I'm pretty sure that there will be cookies and sandwiches there, and thank goodness there was.
Donuts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But once they were there, they were actually. It was really interesting to watch them. Get kind of excited about the light bulb kind of went on that they would have an actual input into something that would be last for a couple of decades. Potentially, well, not potentially, it will. I mean, it'll be revised throughout that time. But the OCP is created to look 20 years. 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
we should be revising it much earlier than 20 years.
But it
It looks 20 years
I
ahead.
believe
So
it's every 5 years.
So was there a previous OCP
Yes.
before this
Yeah,
one?
There's a current.
So
OCP,
how old was that OCP?
15 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and
So an OCP is done every decade or every?
I believe 5 years.
Every
it's
5
supposed
years.
to be
Every
revisited.
5
At least
years.
revisited, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But,
So when you ask about how can you get involved, the initial public consultation round has finished.
Okay.
That information has been gathered, and that's information now, which is all from the public, only from the public.
Okay.
That is being translated into policies that are going to now then be tested against the specific groups. So like the chamber, right? So so if the OCP has a policy about where business zones should be, then that policy is going to be checked against the chamber and other business organizations to say, yeah, that works, or yeah, that doesn't work, and have their input before it's redrafted again.
Okay. What specific issues or matters are you focusing on in this OCP?
It's the entire
Is the
community.
pool like
it's
a new pool, this and that, or?
it tends to stay very high level in terms of it doesn't get down into the specifics, but in general terms, guides, like Todd says, everything, every aspect of building the community moving forward. So certainly pool, recreation, those sorts of things will be involved. It also guides things like what sort of development should go here. Is this area, do we want this to be residential, or is this area, being, do we want this to be commercial? Or
So planning issues that have been raised by the public
I'm interested.
feedback. I'm just reading from our Let's Connect website. It's active lifestyle.
Okay.
Climate change is important. Having a diverse, balanced economy. Ecosystems and protection of ecosystems. Healthy, vibrant, inclusive communities.
Okay.
Livability. Population growth, I guess. Reconciliation. Having a resilient urban growth and development strategy. And responsible infrastructure management. So that really covers every aspect of life in a city. Livability,
Yeah, but I'm looking at something more specific. That all sounds so ominous
almost.
Well, and
or ambivalent, right? You know what word?
Yeah.
it is general, and the OCP is designed to be a general, high-level document. It's not a 10,000-foot document, but it's not a 10-foot document either.
Okay.
So,
What about
kind of
continuity?
in the middle.
You do the OCP. So who spearheads the OCP? The drafting and the development and the putting together of the OCP. Is it the council? Is it everybody? Specifically, there should be sort of some kind of protocol or structure to it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, there is. So are you talking about who specifically is spearheading the
Like, for example, there was
development?
gathering data. You just mentioned there's gathering of data.
Yeah.
Who gathered the data?
contractors.
Okay.
We contract that out
in
to
partnership with the city staff.
Yeah, so the city staff so the city staff are in control of those contracts and participate in them to facilitate the contractor getting the information. The information came from a wide variety of groups. City Council was involved in that. We formulated a community response group, right? So we created a committee of sorts for people to come and give information. The contractor contacted.
Was there a specific person who spearheaded that committee or headed that committee? A member of a council or somebody else? A contractor?
There was a contractor, and there is a member of city staff who is tasked as the I don't know, what would you call it, the leader of the project.
So you have to bear with me because I'm
board.
trying to learn.
Sure,
I'm also
yeah,
an
no,
immigrant,
absolutely.
right? So when you say contractor, to me that's somebody who builds a house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
contractor of what?
There are people whose entire career is running projects like this.
So,
Like
for
gathering information,
municipalities.
a contractor who
Yeah.
A
gathers
better
it.
word might be consultant.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
I
a
guess.
business consultant,
Yeah.
an information
Sure.
consultant,
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
data consultant, right? So there are endless skills.
That's right.
What is the skill set of a
acquiring-
consultant who does an OCP? Should he be what? Business manager, a financial planner?
I think it would be a multifaceted
Social worker.
skill
I
set
don't
that
know.
would incorporate many of those things, but largely the data gathering is it's basically finding ways to present information to the public in a way that is accessible and palatable, so that they and then quick and easy, simple ways that they can express their voice, and where it's not overly complicated or not too many barriers, in order, like I said, my kids were able to participate and without any issues. And so, that's largely the skills that they're bringing to the table. And then taking that data and compiling it into
And not just the
documents that the city needs.
documenting it,
That's
and
right.
that the process of implementing it is a whole different story as well.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the OCP has completed, has been drafted, it has been finalized, and do you have to vote on it or deliberate on it? What's the process
Yeah, we
involved?
have to do the usual three readings by council. So we'll review the document and we'll in a public meeting we'll do our readings and vote on it.
And then when it's approved,
yeah.
there's nothing we can do anymore. We'll just have to wait and see for the implementation?
Yeah, well, the implementation will basically be watching our community grow and develop over the years that follow, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Now, what about the continuity? Like, for example, you're not in office anymore.
Right, which is why...
Will the plan continue?
Yeah, absolutely. The
Or be
OCP
revised,
continues.
maybe?
Yeah, like every 5 years, I believe it will be revisited and revised to fit, the current needs and wants of that community, whatever we are in at that time period. But the continuity, essentially, yeah, it's there. The council's considered a single body, a single continuous entity, regardless of who's on it. So without taking deliberate action to deviate from it, the council, yeah, absolutely adheres to the OCP.
Well, speaking of that, are you somehow continuing from the previous OCP?
Yeah, we're still using the previous OCP. Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes up all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a way, you're just adding to the old OCP.
Yeah, well,
Or revising it.
The OCP is. I would expect that it's a part of the process is looking at the old OCP, but this is a fairly fresh thing that we're doing because it's been 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Since the development, so this is for Port Alberni today.
Well, shouldn't there be go ahead.
You could call it a revision, but the OCP is essentially a living document.
right.
Yes, yes.
As are most of the bylaws within the city. They're living documents. So the revision is a modernization, a recreation, I guess, to some extent. Sometimes it's completely new if it's become irrelevant. Our current OCP does guide city policy and actions that council takes and city staff take. So it's still effective. And where the OCP currently has had an influence on designing areas of the city and on designing priorities that city councils current and past have undertaken, such as parks or transit, those are still issues that will be addressed in this OCP. And so we know when the OCP says livability is an issue, then that has been an issue in the past. It's still an issue.
What exactly do you mean by livability?
Well, let me get to that. That response from the city taxpayers is that is an issue that's still important.
You already mentioned taxes. I'm going to bring it up later.
No, but it's an issue
I
that's
just
important.
got my tax bill from my property yesterday.
So did I, and I paid it. So that tells council to keep that in the forefront of their mind, to make sure the city's livable. Now that translates into what's transit like in the city? How easy is it to get around? And that then, in the implementation phase, requires us to draft a transit plan.
Okay.
If nobody cared about whether the city was livable and they could get around, we wouldn't need a transit plan. But we hear the taxpayers saying, hey, we want a livable city. It's convenient to get around in, so we are going to develop a
transportation is part of livability.
A transit master plan, which includes not just buses, but all transit, right?
Yeah.
All, multimodal pathways, roads, where parking is.
What about pollution?
Street lights,
Oh, yeah,
pollution.
that's in there. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep, climate change was a huge factor. Climate action was a big part of.
So those master plans are developed as a result of the people telling council and staff that these are the important issues they want concentrated on.
Okay. Does affordability of housing factor into livability?
Yes.
Sure does.
Okay. What else? Crime prevention or law and order?
Yes. Safety, public safety, absolutely.
Yeah, that would all.
Have we bothered to compare ourselves to, as far as livability? I'm not talking about OCP. Like, as far as livability, how are we compared to other places?
Sure. Yeah, there are many many metrics, many comparables that you can use and are used, and we do look at those things fairly regularly, depending on what the conversation
Okay, so in your
is.
opinion, on a scale from 1 to 10, how livable is Port Alberni?
Ooh, I don't know if I want to put a number on it, but I mean,
you know,
my
hypothetically
number,
speaking.
I mean, I love living in Port Alberni.
Were you born here?
I was almost. My family moved here when I was 3, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically.
So practically grew up here.
Practically
Yeah.
grew up here, yes. I find it very livable. I love it here. So, I mean, I think that there's work we can do. So I don't know if I want to give it a full-on 10.
Well, it's
You
your
know, that's
opinion.
where
You're entitled to
my
your
heart
opinion.
says 10, but I know that there is more work to do. So I think we'll probably need to.
You
bump
could
it
say
down.
8 going into 10.
I like it. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about you, Todd?
We're definitely on the upper tail of that curve.
Have you ever lived in Port Alberni?
Of course I have.
Yeah,
And
okay.
in fact, when I got married, my wife moved here from North Van, and her comment on the livability was, who are all these crazy people that live in Port Alberni and complain about a rush hour, that it takes 5 minutes to get home from work? It only takes
Well,
5
that's
minutes
one
to
thing
get
I
home
love
from work.
about Port Alberni. No paid parking, wide roads.
That's right. So yeah, there are a lot of criteria where Port Alberni is very high on the scale of livability.
Oh, there you go. That's why we have the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. That's how
Exactly.
livable we are. We have to take a break, and we'll come right back.
Create a 5-star experience in your bedroom with Gibson's Fine Linens. You can be sure of great comfort, outstanding quality, true value, sensational style, and impressive selection. Come check out our showroom at 3034 3rd Avenue, right here in Port Alberni.
Hi, I'm Chris Washington, and I'm the owner of Flandangle's Kitchen and Gifts and Gibson's Fine Linens. We've been servicing the Alberni Valley for over 42 years. We love what we do, and we believe it shows. So come on down and see us today, and we can show you the myriad of things we have in our store.
Gibson's Fine Linens presents the 5 greats of a 5-star bedroom. Great comfort, great quality, great value, great style, and a great selection. Create your own 5-star experience in the bedroom with Gibson's Fine Linens. They're not just good, they're great.
Breaking news. Business owners who use video ads have shown growth of more than 50% over their competition. A well-produced video ad is just the thing that your business needs to take it to the next level. At Rainbow Wave Productions, we have the right tools and resources to create, execute, and deliver the video ad that's right for your business. Click the link below to book a free consultation today. And we're back. Before we go to our next point of discussion, I'd like to let Todd add a little bit to what we're talking about. We were talking about livability, and you said you had something to add to that.
Well, and what I have to add is that it's very much for the long term. You're asking how long the OCP lasts for, but and it will be reviewed. And
well, actually, it's a living document.
But the concept of the
evolves.
livability is very long term, and the illustration of that is in our engagement process with people we talk to in the community about what they want the community to be like. We specifically made sure we talked to children in elementary school.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because they're the next generation.
We took into account the views of what the next generation, the future, wants for their future.
What's this generation called again? Of course, the Gen X or the Gen Z and the millennials. I'm a boomer, so I don't really keep up anymore. What are we calling this new generation?
I think they're the alphas now.
Alpha, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they come right around to the
Will they be
beginning.
better than the Gen Xers? The Gen Xers don't even know how to write in cursive anymore.
Oh, the Gen Z, yeah.
I appreciate all the attributes of the different generations.
That's right.
Oh, of course. We have to, because we have to live with them.
That's right.
All right, anything to add to the livability issue, Dustin?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think that's huge, right? And that's going to mean different things to everyone, and that's why you want to hear from everyone when you're building something like the OCP. And I think for Port Alberni, a huge part of that is this incredible outdoor environment that we are surrounded by.
I love our hiking trails and our lakes.
And trying to create more, healthy, safe access to the environment that we live in, to the waterfront, to our incredible rainforests and trails and all of that. And so there's that's for me and for I think a lot of especially the people who are moving here.
Yes.
To them, I think it's a huge draw, and so that's a big part of what we've been sort of working on is finding ways to connect people with the nature that we're surrounded by in a way that is environmentally friendly
and preserve that.
And preserve that, absolutely, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. This is a perfect segue for our next topic of discussion. You said people who are moving here, because I moved here as well. I used to live in Coquitlam. I came here in 2015. My first visit was in 2011, and I fell in love with Port Alberni, because like time stood still.
Right.
I was sleeping in. I thought I'm sleeping in too much, and it's only 8 o'clock. I thought it was already 10 o'clock. And then but I did hear that, as you have mentioned a while ago in our discussion, there was also a part of the reputation of Port Alberni that had to be lived down, because we did have some sort of a bad reputation.
Totally.
What was that? What was that about?
Yeah, anytime you have a city that goes through economic turmoil, going from what is referred to as the heyday of Port Alberni, right, where we were.
We had the highest GNP of the whole.
That's right.
The whole country.
That's right, and it's hard to come from that and then head into a couple of decades of
right?
a depression, a lot of loss of jobs and industry and struggle, and out of that you end up with some reputation issues that come with the economic struggle. Both from outside and also sort of an identity crisis that the locals begin to have about themselves and what is Port Alberni now, because we're not necessarily the forestry town anymore, or we're not. And
because we reaped the forest. There's nothing left, almost nothing.
Right, and it's still an important contributor to our economy, but certainly not nearly on the level that it once was. And so you begin to, I think, like I said, you start to have a bit of an identity crisis. And when your locals aren't holding their heads high about the place that they live in, that begins to make ripples beyond, right? And so yeah, so we need to, I see that changing rapidly, and I think people are beginning to take pride in their community again.
For sure.
And as things change and people move to town, and I love to hear as people move here and they love it, and they're like, I don't understand, why do people talk so poorly about this place? And yeah, it's good to see that outside newcomer perspective that really just demonstrates what others see when they get here, expecting one thing based on reputation, and then realizing that it's not that, and it's actually a pretty incredible place to live. So.
But at this point, I'd like to go to Todd, because you said you lived here in Port Alberni, right?
So
Then you moved away. Why did you move away?
Well,
Hot seat.
I can only answer that if I first answer the first part, which is, why did I come here? I came here for work, and I moved to Port Alberni, and people said, oh, why did you move there? I said, for work. They said, do you work in the mill? No, I don't. I came here to do my articling, my law articling. I was a lawyer here for 22 years.
Okay.
And when I found out I was moving to Port Alberni, the only thing I knew about it at that point in time was our Christmas trees came from the Christmas tree farm in Port Alberni.
Oh, okay.
Now, as soon as I found out I was coming here, a little bit of reading in the newspaper, and boy, I was excited.
Oh, really?
Port Alberni is a place where things were happening.
Really?
Port Alberni,
At the time?
At the time. But at the time and before that and since then, Port Alberni constantly finds itself in the news. Regardless of why, right? So irrespective of the fact that it might have been, there's a strike at the mill, so that's in the news. Or there's a protest in the forests.
Or somebody beat never mind.
But,
It wasn't
but
good
the,
news.
the point was, this is a place where things are happening.
Of course.
There's an energy here.
Yes.
Big things.
There's a vibe.
Big things happen here. And they might not be the big things like, money's growing on trees and everybody should come here because it's wonderful economically. But big things happen in Port Alberni. And it's because people in Port Alberni have big ideas and aren't afraid to express them and pursue them. And that's why I wanted to be in Port Alberni.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
you moved away
I moved away.
because the work stopped?
No.
Or you retired? Or
No, I moved away because I got married, and it was not fair to make my wife travel for 2 hours when I got to travel for 5 minutes to work. So
I
we
see.
co-located in a place that was
sort of
equal to
central,
both of our career obligations.
But in a way, you're back.
Well, in a way, I never really left because when I like to say that really the only person that should care about where I sleep is my wife.
Oh, there you go.
So when I sleep outside of Port Alberni, that doesn't mean I'm not here at my doctor's, getting my car fixed, buying groceries, drinking beer, yes, whatever else I do in Port Alberni. I volunteer in Port Alberni. I worked in Port Alberni my entire career, even when I lived somewhere else.
Okay.
It takes 25 minutes for me to get home.
Okay.
It takes 25 minutes for me to drive out to Sprout Lake, where a lot of people that
So
say
now I'm going to
they
go
live
to
in
my
Port
next
Alberni
topic. So
live.
Justin mentioned about moving here, or Dustin about moving here, and you're commuting here. Now, what happened when that road closure hit, that landslide? So that sort of like ruined, that had a very detrimental effect to some. I know a friend of mine who was selling his house, and he had people lined up all the way from Vancouver to look at his house, and then the road closed, and that sale of the house just blew up in went up in smokes.
It was a very difficult time for, everybody, and some people especially. It was particularly poor timing. One of those tough.
And it happened in the summer when people need to go to Tofino.
I know, and honestly, we're still feeling the ripple effects from that. Like, a lot of businesses.
Speaking of which, now, is the OCP also planning on that part? Like, should it happen again, or are we preventing it to happen again? Like, are we looking into an alternative route, or reviving the train, or whatever?
Sure. So, the OCP certainly looks at transportation and things like that. I'm not sure if the OCP gets quite down into the details enough to directly address that, but the issue of another route out of town is absolutely a critical one, and so that falls under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. So.
Oh, okay.
So. The city's role in it is it's a little bit different because as it's important and we certainly have a role to play.
Yes.
It's just not as direct. It's not, and so our role is to make sure that we are advocating. We are making sure that the ministry, is aware of the need, is aware of that the people's concerns and how important this is to our community, both for our
it's important to
economy.
Everybody in the island, right?
Totally.
You can't cut them off from going to Tofino. Even Justin Trudeau loves to go to Tofino.
True enough. Yeah. So no, I mean, and it's huge. And so council has been in regular contact with the ministry, and made it very clear that we need solutions here. So the ministry is actually working on a report right now that will cover a number of options, both for emergency exit routes from town and also potential long-term,
are we developing another road somewhere?
Not currently, but that
I mean, it's being looked into at least.
It's being looked into, yeah. And we're talking big money, and we're talking trying to squeeze into a provincial list of priorities, right? That are all clamoring for attention, and
so that road issue is at a provincial level, not a federal level.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the province, it's the island.
That's right. Yeah. The Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure is a provincial ministry.
So who do I write or lobby to?
Yeah.
Minister
The
of Transportation
Premier?
and Infrastructure or the Premier. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how was that for you, Todd? You said you were like 25 minutes became what, 2 hours now?
I attended all the council meetings online, which is something that we do anyways if we're sick or whatnot. During COVID, it was the same reaction.
Yeah.
Couldn't come in, so we went in, came and visited online and made sure that this business of the city carried on. I have to say during that time, which a complete shutdown and isolation is stressful for everybody. I think during that time that various service providers, ministries, did fantastic things. The number of people that flew back and forth. You can point out that I commute, but there is a vast number. I don't know the exact number, but there's a vast number of people that live in Port Alberni and commute for work.
Exactly, to Nanaimo, to Parksville.
And there is a vast number of people that live in Parksville and Qualicum and commute to work in Port Alberni. So you really need to look at the communities and the economy as a regional one, and not just an ACRD region, but a region of Mid-Island, because we all benefit from each other. And severing that cord that connects us affected businesses in Parksville because workers couldn't get there.
Exactly.
And it affected people that needed their prescriptions in Port Alberni. Arrangements were made. The super emergency route, as I like to call it, was utilized. The route through Horn Lake, it was utilized in specific instances where it was required. So the people need to. I can reassure people that feel like they're trapped here that in fact they're not. There are multiple routes in and out of Port Alberni and multiple methods of transportation that arise in an emergency. Now, is that inconvenient? Of course it is. Emergencies are inconvenient. And we are not the only community in all of BC that suffers from a single road in and a single road out. Highway 16 has numerous communities that if that highway's cut off, they're cut off. The communities in the Okanagan are enduring a continuing problem with landslides onto Highway 97, which causes around Summerland a detour route that is 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
So we're not the only ones in this boat. And
but we are the heart of Vancouver Island.
Well, from my point of view,
that's tantamount to a heart attack.
We have the advantage of existing roads, and Port Alberni Council for many years has been advocating for another route. For many years, they've been advocating different councils, but all along, for the circle route to be established, which is the route that comes from Comox down Comox Lake into Beaver Creek, and then out of Port Alberni down towards Nitnat, and then past Nitnat to Yubu and Duncan.
How many hours is that?
Well, right now, it's a lot.
Like, give me 6 hours?
So yeah, the drive, it'd be about 2 hours to Courtenay from Port Alberni, and then probably whatever the 3 hours maybe to Duncan, because it's unpaved.
I see, yeah.
But we've been advocating for that. We've been advocating for that because of the economic benefit to having a circle route and the tourism that would attract. Now, other partners are interested in parts of that for other reasons, and it may come to be. The fire and closure of Highway 4 may be part of the impetus to revive those discussions. The road to Bamfield is paved. And,
yes, I have been to Bamfield.
And the road to Bamfield is half of the way of the road to Nitnat, which then accesses other partners. Dididats have their reserves and their traditional lands are there. They would like to have paved access to it, or so I hear. I can't speak for them. And so that road could be paved from past Nitnat, and then from Nitnat it's stone's throw to get to Yubu, and then the road's already paved into Duncan. So parts are paved, it could be completed in sections, and that would then provide multiple paved access routes.
Well, in my experience, one thing that came out for me positively was I didn't know we had an airport. I had to take a plane to go to parks. And it was quite an experience too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know Port Alberni had an airport. I don't know Carlson has their airport, but so we have our own airline or something like that.
We do. We have our own airport. Scheduled JAGs in and out of it. I think there were twice a week there were scheduled JAGs, but
So for
I might
now,
be mistaken about whether that was
to-
the airport or float planes.
Would it be safe to say, for now, as far as that issue of the road is concerned, it's a wait and see?
Yes.
Very much a wait and see, yeah.
But-
And I mean, wait and see, but don't completely let it drop, because we have to keep making sure that we're waiting at the
of course.
province, being like, don't forget about us.
And it
But,
doesn't have to
yeah.
happen again.
That's right.
Like but in case it happens again, we'll have to
we would-
just bear
yeah.
it again, knuckle under, so to speak.
Yeah, we'll have to address it just like we did last time.
But given that, I think that road closure also happened during COVID, wasn't it? Or the COVID was dying down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
after COVID.
Yeah, it was post-COVID, but I mean, we're still.
So we survived
still
COVID
dealing
and we
with
survived
the-
road closure.
Yeah.
For that, I can say Port Alberni is a tough cookie. Hey?
Yeah, we're survivors, that's for sure. Yeah.
That's all part and parcel of our wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Now, we're almost out of time. I want to get in the last topic. Todd mentioned it last time here. He said, I asked him bluntly, I said, why do you don't live here, but you're a city council here in Port Alberni. Why did you do that? What motivated you to run for city council? And he said, oh, well, I own property here, and I want to make sure that the money's being spent properly. So on that issue, how would you gauge our fiduciary status? Are we spending our money properly? Are we good? Are you good stewards of our... We are answerable to the public, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Answerable to the public, and certainly answerable to legislation, right? That dictates how we can and can't go about spending public funds. But yeah, I mean, as far as I think that this council is very careful and very conversational in terms of discussing every major expenditure and making sure that it is aligned with our strategic goals as a council, but more importantly with the desires of the community and the future that we see. So we have to consider not only the immediate needs and wants of the community, but also what does the community look like in 10, 20 years?
Yeah,
what is our
definitely.
what community are our children?
I'd give a shout out to staff. Since this, I'm sure staff has always been very good, because almost all the staff we have now we had before, but we've been able to witness their efficiencies and making sure that the monies spent are spent well. So council can
That's good to
authorize
know.
the spending of money, the staff and administration spend it, and they do it kind of tight-fistedly, I would say.
Absolutely.
There you go.
For example, the demolition of the SOMAS, so far we're still making money on it
Okay, good. Good
instead
to
of
know.
losing. Yeah.
Oh, the discussion's just getting good, and we're out of time. Or I will implore you to come back for maybe
Yeah,
a part 2 sometime
absolutely,
soon.
yep.
But that's all we have the time for. But before we go, we have to go to this break. Breaking news. Business owners who use video ads have shown growth of more than 50% over their competition. A well-produced video ad is just the thing that your business needs to take it to the next level. At Rainbow Wave Productions, we have the right tools and resources to create, execute, and deliver the video ad that's right for your business. Click the link below to book a free consultation today. Breaking news. Business owners who use video ads have shown growth of more than 50% over their competition. A well-produced video ad is just the thing that your business needs to take it to the next level. At Rainbow Wave Productions, we have the right tools and resources to create, execute, and deliver the video ad that's right for your business. Click the link below to book a free consultation today. It is unfortunate that we are out of time. I'm just enjoying this discussion, but I can assure you we will have a part 2, and maybe next time we will have one more city council on the panel next time. Thank you so much, Dustin and Todd, for coming to the show.
Thanks,
I'm
Todd.
sure our audience is going to enjoy this wonderful discussion we have. The wonderful Alberni Valley experience will continue with a bright future and a good hope for what is to come. See you next time on The Wave.